To an idea so mind-numbingly inane, if it were a person, it would be the love child of Greg and Afua. Amid the flurry of Brexit coverage, few of you might have noticed an idea from a panel of MPs suggesting bosses should give jobs to applicants from poorer backgrounds, ahead of rivals who are potentially better qualified. Yes, that's right, you should knowingly hire an inferior candidate, and these hopeless Herbert MPs, most of whom have never run a company in their lives and would struggle to even run a bath, even said it should apply to medicine. So, a question. Would you want to be operated on by an inferior surgeon? Nope. Me neither.
Nick, you're being deliberately obtuse and inflammatory.
In what way?
You're using the word
I've never been accused of that before in my life.
Nobody is suggesting that employers take worse candidates for equal positions. What they're saying is they cast the net a bit wider, aren't they? And so that, just let me give you one statistic.
Go ahead.
5% of children on free school meals got 5 GCSE A grades. Right. At my school, it was something like 99% of children got 7 A stars or 9 A stars at least in their GCSEs.
Right.
The truth is, if you have a privileged education and background, you are going, the glittering prizes are going to be handed out to you in an awards ceremony. The rest, on free school meals, don't even know is taking place.
Well, I spoke to the chairman of the all-party parliamentary group on social mobility on my radio show, and he actually, I'm afraid, not for the first time in your career, you've got it completely wrong. They are specifically saying, and even in medicine, that there should be people if they are from... And by the way, when
they're using the word inferior.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Can you read me out that quote?
I will in a second, if you like.
Yes, I do like.
When I asked how you judge, this was fantastic, you go by postcodes. Now, I don't know if you've ever run a business. I know he's run a business. I'm not sure whether you guys have ever run businesses. It's bloody difficult running businesses, right? And the idea you would sacrifice part of your business... All I've ever done is run newsrooms, right? Hiring reporters or producers in television. The idea that I've got somebody who I really, really like, called Fred, but I'm going to have to hire Frank because he came from the back end of Harleston.
It's
absolute. That's what this report is calling for.
What you're talking about is contextual recruitment, which, by the way, works. Contextual recruitment.
Remind me how many businesses you've run.
I have run a business, actually.
How many people have you hired?
By the way.
It was a very small business. I'll put it out there. No, I had one employee. Contextual recruitment is not about choosing inferior candidates. No. It's recognising...
I want you to find the word inferior in any quote.
It is recognising that somebody, like Rachel said, who goes to an elite school and gets straight A's is not necessarily a more talented or hard-working candidate than somebody who goes to a failing school and gets all B's. The amount of discipline and focus and talent it takes to perform that well in a school where no one does that well shows that they are not inferior, and it's recognising that talent actually comes in more than one model, and that is what
should we be doing more about whatever those statistics were that Rachel was quoting that bored us all to death about 5 GCSEs? Yes, of course we should be doing. But when it says that they should actually be hired ahead of rivals who are better qualified.
Is that the Daily Mail? Is that the Daily Mail?
Yes.
Of course that's what the Daily Mail
is.
Yes.
Listen,
so you know better than a paper that sells
what you're overlooking.
Millions.
Sorry, Rachel.
I don't think selling millions, but I'm sure Hitler sold a lot of papers.
Oh.
Didn't
as soon as you mention Hitler, you've lost the argument, Greg.
You didn't know that.
Certainly here, especially today, yes.
What you're
This is dangerous social engineering.
Yeah. No, it's not.
That's what people who never are interested in social mobility always say,
No, it's not. What about helping people to get into high-powered jobs that they may not be capable of doing?
Yeah.
How stressful is that going to be for them if they get a job and they were catapulted over the really smart
you
person?
You would prefer not to give anybody who hasn't had any privileges a chance.
I said you should be qualified to do the job.
I've got something to show you. I'll tell you what dangerous social engineering is. Dangerous social engineering is when 7% of the population, which is the percentage of the population that's privately educated, gets 74% of the jobs in the senior judiciary, which is the current situation in the High Court and the Appeal Court, 50% of the jobs in print journalism, and a third of the jobs in the FTSE 100. That is social engineering. And what we've got is we have had affirmative action in favour of private school educated, white, middle-class people. We've had that for time immemorial. All that this report is talking about is levelling the playing field. world, not unfairly promoting people
Let's talk
who
about
are
working class
undeserving.
kids. You're not a working class kid, are
No,
you?
I'm not.
Yeah, well, I am. And what I noticed about my life as a child, and I went to secondary school, I failed my 11 plus. What I noticed about the people in my class was the ones who wanted to get on and do things, the ones who wanted to get out of where they were, they all did it. And it wasn't because they got 6 A's or 7 A's. It was because they had determination,
gumption.
They had ambition, they had gumption. And they got out and they went and did what they had to do. So it's not just about exam results. It's not about what you do.
No, but there is evidence from universities that kids coming in with
safe
lesser
schools,
qualifications from not good schools actually do better than kids coming from
That's
Eton,
quite true.
right? That is around. Now, how you then take that into the jobs market, I agree with you, is more difficult. But certainly in terms of education, the universities are under a lot of pressure to get more people from different backgrounds. Universities need to start saying, well, three A levels from there is actually
Just as good as.
or if not better than 3 A levels from Eton or somewhere, because actually they've had a more privileged education, and that
Then
seems to
you're
me.
punishing clever
Now,
people
then you
for
come
being
to the same.
I'm not punishing them.
You're
Check
punishing
your
clever
privilege,
people
Carol.
for
No,
being
hang on. They're not clever. There's no evidence that they're clever.
I
They're
said
ju-
clever.
I didn't say that. I said
Clever.
you're punishing-
Inferior.
More fortunate.
You're stigmatising
No.
people who do
Yes.
not have the life chances
And-
of the elite.
And
surprised- I'm
should we start
You are.
taking a system that goes the other way and says, actually, we're going to find people who don't come from particularly good backgrounds, have difficult backgrounds, or not had good education, and we're going to favour them. Well, why not?
I'm surprised at you, Nick, because you're often claiming to be, the voice of the
man
real
of the
British person outside the London metropolitan elite. Well, this report is also
He's
talking
never
about.
knowingly left London, though.
He did do quite well on the map last
Except to
time.
go to a second house in France.
This report is talking about looking outside the London bubble for recruitment.
Well,
It's talking
that's
about
fine,
ending
it's good.
unpaid internships, which
Fine.
blatantly
Fine.
discriminate in favour of privileged
don't know about
people.
that. I like the
Who can
idea of
afford to live
internships.
in London and work for free
Well, we
if
can
they
give them the
haven't
bus
got
fare.
money?
They can get the bus fares. I agree with going. But what I don't say, and I'm glad Carol has supported this, is that kids like that who have I'm going to use the word the gumption. That's fantastic. You can't give jobs if you're a boss to someone who's not as good. Greg will have given
No
out
one's
more jobs than I
suggesting
have. I can't believe he ever thought, tell you what, I'm going to employ him or her because he's actually not as good.
It's about how you recognise what is good.
I have always deliberately looked for people who come from interesting backgrounds.
Exactly.
Always.
So you wouldn't judge on exam
that-
results?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily give them the job just because they got the right
No,
A
but
levels and come
if
from
some
Eton.
kid from a working class background came to us hardly any qualifications, and their character and their personality and their drive impressed you more than somebody with a whole strung, that's the person you give the job
That's
to.
exactly what the
Well,
report's
when I was
recommending,
child-
Carol. So you agree with it,
The person who's
basically.
better doesn't get the job because that
It's
chap
about
was from
recognising
Sunderland.
talent might not
When
come
I
in
was
one
Chancellor
model.
of the University of York, which I was for 11 years, I remember talking to the guy who ran the law department, and he said every year he takes in a couple of people who haven't got the same qualifications, but from more different backgrounds. And I said, what happens? And he said, actually, they do just as well, if not better. But they still find it harder to get jobs at the end of it. And that's because we have an inbuilt system. The legal profession now is panicking because it knows it's got to do something about those figures you showed. They've got to do something. They can't just have people of a certain background coming in their millions, which is what's happening.
Yeah, I think it's right. I mean, it's not so much contextual recruitment, but at the end of the day, when they've finished their the education, it's about contacts more than contextual recruitment, whatever it's
and
called.
that is true. Middle class kids do have the best contacts. You go to university and you're middle class, you already know
and
a
we
whole bunch
have,
of people.
as a country, the lowest social mobility in the OECD. So I think there is a job
Says a woman
to
who
be
could bring
done.
2 cabinet ministers.
Yeah,
like
how
that.
do you think?
I mean, how do you struggle? You do
Listen,
struggle. Honestly, you're such a model to us all.
I would be nowhere
managed to
without
get
my
through.
contacts, Nick, and I'm the first to
I
admit
think
it.
she is a model to us all because actually she came from that background and yet is prepared to
Yeah.
argue
I've
something
overcome the
different,
disadvantages
which is-
of my Johnson
Unlike
birth.
you, who've just used whatever you could and just got on.
Yeah,
Bring
just
the
clawed
ladder
my
up
way,
behind you.
clawed my way through, Greg.